school board is speaking out about an online video. It offers a $1,000 reward for recordings of Muslim students delivering hate speech during Friday prayers in schools. The 3.5-minute clip was posted on YouTube March 29th by Kevin Johnston with the online publication Freedom Report.
Did you hear how he said Kevin Johnston? It's like Kevin Johnston. But it gets even better.
Johnston says in order to qualify, the videos must identify students by face and name and be submitted within 1 day of being shot. Now, news of this video prompted a response today from Prime Minister Trudeau.
Kevin, the Prime Minister is talking about you.
Well, I'm not too sure that the Prime Minister is talking about anything specifically. The clip where he's talking, he goes, and
that's what he always
DNA.
Does.
Yeah.
Let's let him speak for himself here. Let's hear what Prime Minister Trudeau said.
Let me hear it.
Canadians know that the only path for this country is to be respectful, accepting, to be there for each other. It's in our national DNA. It comes from the long winters and the cold nights that, Canadians, whether you've been here a few weeks or many generations or a few millennia, know that we need to be there for our neighbors.
I've been here for a few millennia myself, and he's right. We are very respectful, and there are a lot of cold nights. And over the last few millennia, I've noticed some changes. This guy is something else, and he's got to talk like this. Oh my God! Okay. See, we got one more clip here of the Prime Minister. He didn't mention you by name, but let's see what he had to say here.
The Peel School Board calls this video hate-filled showmanship and nothing more than an attack on the entire school community.
Okay, so wait a minute. What news agency was that, Kevin?
That was Cable Pulse 24. It's a local television station in downtown Toronto. They used to be good. In the 80s and the early 90s, they used to report news in a very unbiased way, but now it's just junk. But I don't know who the cameraman was or who even Trudeau was talking to or talking about in that particular clip. Cable Pulse 24 tells everybody on TV that Kevin J Johnston's a bad man because he's offering a $1,000 cash reward for evidence of hate speech caught on film. And then the Prime Minister, the idiot, comes out and says it's in our DNA to be cold and helpful and what's going on here? Who is this guy?
Well, I don't understand why they used that clip because it didn't seem like it had anything to do with you, really. It's like they had to go digging for something.
I don't think it lined up, and I really do think you're correct. They went digging to find something that he had to say because later in the day I saw the Toronto Star, and he was walking out of one of those trains, one of those, we call them the GO train. They're painted green and white. Right. GO means Government of Ontario trains. So they're coming out of this train station, and he's beside the Premier of Ontario, and that's it. So what was he really talking about? I don't know. I don't think he knows either.
That's too funny. Well, I mean, it was kind of a broad, generic statement that any politician could say about any country, really. I mean, yeah, you're right. He wasn't really saying anything. He was just talking.
That could have been the answer to the question, who would you rather sleep with, Hefty Smurf or Smurfette? It could have been the same answer. That's how ambiguous that answer was.
Exactly. But nonetheless, these dedicated professionals at this news service in Toronto, they decided to throw that in. So you've been getting all kinds of press coverage lately. You've been on Global and CBC. How did that go for you?
Well, as with everything, I met with Global and CBC within 20 minutes of each other. Very cold, rainy day, and I always have somebody film the entire interview. So if you do go to freedomreport.ca, you'll see the full interview uncut. I never cut the segments. So they they do this interview, and I think it goes well, or at least that's what it seems like, and then they go back to the studio and put together a bunch of left-wing crap, really. There's no other way to word that, trying to vilify me for what I am doing. So,
right, and so...
Go ahead.
Yeah, explain what you're doing. You've offered this $1,000 reward to catch somebody using hate speech in Islamic prayer. Why are you doing that?
There has been an onslaught of imams that are uttering this stuff on an ongoing basis. And thanks to really good news outlets like CIJ News here in Toronto, we're catching them. These guys are being caught on hidden cameras talking about ending the Jews, killing the Kafirs, killing the polytheists, making sure that the Kafirs know their place. Muslims are better than the rest of us. All of this garbage is being spewed by these guys, and they're doing it to not just adults, but to children. And now our Peel District School Board is allowing not only Islamic prayer to be in public schools during the school day, but they're allowing these kids to write their own sermons in Arabic and recite them. Now, that sounds fishy to me, and all of this came about because we had one local imam here in the Brampton, Mississauga area state that he wanted this to happen. I'm very curious to know what these kids are saying to each other and what's being instructed during these prayers. And if we can find hate, any kind of hate speech in there, believe me, I'm going straight to the courthouse and playing it with the proper translation for the judge and get the appropriate criminal charges filed. Regrettably, we've allowed Muslims to get away with everything. The same laws and rules don't apply to anybody who's Islamic who shouts the word racist out. Well, I'm showing the entire Canadian public that everybody abides by the same law.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems tailor-made to tear a society apart. I mean, these people want to be all things to all people. They want to be pro-gay and they want to be pro-Muslim at the same time. And we're talking about oil and water. Those two things aren't going to mix. I mean, Muslims are not going to put up with homosexuality. They hate it. You can see videos of them throwing them off of buildings over in ISIS-controlled territories. I mean, this is... I don't understand the thought process behind this. I guess it makes perfect sense if you're trying to tear your own society apart. I guess you could say that.
Let me share this with you. I've had, since all this public media has happened, I've spoken to a lot of students from the schools. By the way, students in all of the Peel Region schools were told that they are not allowed to look at my channel, they're not allowed to look at freedomreport.ca, and they are not allowed to speak to the press. Oh, yeah.
By who?
Yeah. By the principals of every public high school between the cities of Mississauga, Brampton, and Caledon. Like, we're talking 10,000 kids were told. First off, these 10,000 kids were told my name. They didn't know who I was. So that means, by default, if you count parents, that's 30,000 people in one day that knew my name. So thank you. Not only that, they had a robocall go out saying, this is the Peel District School Board. There's a gentleman named Kevin J. Johnston. You are not allowed to look at his website. Oh, so they phoned the houses for me. It's amazing
that is so
how much
beautiful.
Free advertising could one ask for.
That's awesome. And anybody that knows anything about kids whatsoever, if you tell them not to go and look at something, they're going to do it. I mean, it's almost like they're on your side, Kevin.
You would think so. They don't think so, but I think so.
That is the stupidest thing you could do. Go on the announcements and tell people, don't look at Kevin J. Johnston's YouTube channel. Most kids spend a lot of time on YouTube, and I guarantee. Did you see a significant bump in your YouTube numbers? We've only got a little bit of time, but get into that.
No. Let me explain this. I was actually, after the CBC put out their article, I decided to film my own live statistics on YouTube. And it was only going up by about 84 to 85 views per hour. So what it means is conventional media, people no longer care. That the CBC and global news combined are incapable of giving me any more than 10,000 views additional on my YouTube channel. It means nobody cares about them anymore.
Let's bust on the CBC after this break. I want to do it. Mike, and Super Dom with Kevin J. Johnston will be back after this.
You got it.
Welcome back to Americanuck Radio. So Justin Trudeau had some very choice, explicit, poignant words for Kevin J. Johnston, but it turns out that Teddy Roosevelt made a speech about Kevin J. Johnston, too. Here it is.
Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Now, I'd like to point out that had exactly as much to do with Kevin J. Johnston as what Prime Minister Trudeau said in the clip that we played in the last segment. So we were talking about the CBC, and for our American listeners, that's the Canadian Broadcast Corporation, and they get billions of taxpayer dollars to put out the most god-awful schlock that you've ever seen in your life and lie to Canadians and propagandize Canadians. And I just want to give you an example of a TV show produced by the CBC. These people do not have to succeed. They don't have to put out a good product. They can just coast by and put stuff out. It doesn't have to be good, and they'll never lose their job.
Mennonites.
Mennonites.
You're kidding, right? The Mennonite mob?
No joke. They have a pipeline running all the way from Mexico to Canada.
The Mennonite mob has a pipeline running from Mexico to Canada. Mexican drugs being brought into Canada by Mennonites. That is a plot from a CBC TV show.
Right, and this explains
Seriously.
why the CBC does not have a single show in the top 20 in Canada, period. The CBC
No,
is...
exactly, and like I said, they don't have to. They don't have to. They don't have to succeed. They're going to get money, and they're not going to lose their jobs no matter what they do. So they can just suck at everything, and they don't even. I mean, I'm surprised they even show up at work half the time. It's not like they have to.
Well, you're right. They don't have to.
But
they don't return phone calls, and they certainly have no idea how to put together a news report that's actually going to help them. They've gone out of their way to try to make me look bad, and what it's done is it's now told the entire country who I am. And honestly speaking here, what happened after the CBC hit this report is I started getting a lot more phone calls from Peel District School Board teachers, but also teachers right across Ontario who have been reporting to me why it is that all the school boards in Ontario are kowtowing to Muslims as much as they are. Would you like to hear it?
yeah, I'd love to hear that.
There we go. Real simple. If you remember Kathleen Wynne when she put out her new sex ed curriculum, where she was essentially going to be telling kids in grade 4 and 5 that anal sex was a great thing, and by the way, here's how you do it, because our premier is a lesbian and wants to bring out the LGBT nonsense into our schools at an age where kids don't need to hear even about heterosexual sex. Forget it. Let them be kids. The new curriculum was so over the top that Muslims started ripping kids out of their kids out of the public schools en masse, to the point where there was, in some cases, as many as 400 kids having been removed from a few schools in Peel region. And what happens with that is, from the province, for every kid that gets pulled out of school, the school board will lose between $10,000 and $18,000. Isn't that interesting? So the schools, They have to report the fact that their kids are absent for 15 days or more, and they lose their funding. This is a money thing right across the board. This is all about money. But one more thing is that our chairman, and I'll call her a man, that's Janet McDougall here in Peel District, I found it very interesting that because this is a whole money issue, I tracked her home address. I went down and had a look at her house. It's a $1.3 million monstrosity that's less than 250 meters away from the edge of Lake Ontario. So how on an $18,000 salary is she affording this? Please, tell me. Tell me more.
Exactly.
It's money.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, there was a time in Canada where if you talked to a minor about anal sex, you'd have your ass kicked and thrown in jail.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they doing? I mean, this is crazy. I don't know anybody that's down with that. I really don't. And I don't get it. Fellow Canadians, we really need to take these people to task, because they're a bunch of perv criminals. That's who your leaders are. They're a bunch of perv criminals. And
the guy who actually wrote some of the curriculum for that is in prison now for possession of kiddie porn. What does that tell you?
Big shock. Yeah, no doubt. See, you were at a protest this morning. Let's switch away from pedophiles here. You were at a protest this morning. What was that about?
It was about no religion in public schools. And what we have here is the mayor of the city of Brampton, population 1 million, decided that because a group of people were stating that we do not want religious accommodation in any public school, she goes ahead and tells all of us that it's misinformed hatred that we are spreading. And she says, you're all anti-Islam and you're racist. What kind of an idiot does that? If you're expecting to get reelected, what you might want to do is have a look at the demographic of the city that you are in charge of and realize that if you're going to call Hindus, Sikhs, and white folks, Christians, that they're racist and uttering all kinds of hate, how are you going to get elected when you only have 3 to 5% of the population being Muslim? Everyone's counting on just the Muslim vote to win. Well, I'm sorry, but there just aren't that many. You can't win an election just on that particular vote. So these politicians have really got to smarten up. It was great. The Rebel.media came out to cover it. David Menzies, amazing guy, is interviewing people left, right, and center. And what I found is this rally is getting Canadians who don't know each other talking, and I love the fact that every race was out there today because, all these politicians, they focus so much on color, so I'm going to say it. Every color was there today, all of us. And what I saw was a group of Canadians fighting for what's right, and I didn't see individual people from individual communities. And also, none of the politicians in Brampton showed up for this, which I knew they wouldn't. They all stayed home.
Of course they did. Yeah, they're playing a really weird game. It's the same thing here in Alberta. We just got this carbon tax, right? And it's hugely unpopular. I mean, people hate it. People are really, really angry at the NDP. And I think that they know that they're only going to be in power until the next election. They know that they're gone after this. But they're trying to ram through as much as they possibly can. And I don't have a whole lot of hope that the Conservatives or the Wild Rose, whoever gets in Alberta after this, I don't think they're going to get rid of that carbon tax. Because once they see the money coming in from it, I think it's here to stay. And I mean, once you have a new tax, you've got a whole bureaucracy built around servicing and collecting it. So I don't think it's going anywhere. But you need to understand that, people, with what's going on in Ontario with the Peel District, school district there, too. Once these things go into place, it's very difficult to get rid of them. You should be down on your knees thanking God for guys like Kevin J Johnston who have the actual balls to stand up and do something about it.
Well, I do appreciate that, and you're right. Listen, even when Brian Mulroney brought the GST into this country, the goods and services tax, which in Ontario made it 13% on top of every single retail purchase, insane. Jean Chrétien, the Prime Minister, after him, decides to say, hey, I'm going to get rid of the GST, and then a couple of years into his term, he says, what? I never said that. What? No, I never said that.
Yeah.
So, really, when you bring a big tax like that in, it is very difficult to get rid of it. But the NDP, by bringing in a carbon tax, has pretty much secured themselves as no winners for a very long time. They're going to lose. And what we should also look at is the carbon tax was brought into Australia, and it was so grossly unpopular that the country had to look into, was it helping? The country figured out it's not helping, it's hurting. They got rid of it. The planet isn't warming up. Just stop with that narrative. Please, I don't want to pay for lies.
Well, listen, if the planet is going to warm up, I'm going to go and shoot a whole case of hairspray into the sky because it's frickin' cold in Alberta, buddy. I mean, let it warm up. I'll let my vehicle idle 24 hours a day if that's what it takes, all right? Because it's cold. I mean, Canada is uninhabitable due to the weather. I mean, most of Canada's population lives about 100 kilometers from the United States, and there's almost nobody above that because we have this huge landmass that nobody can even live in because it's so hostile. I mean, and that's a fact. You know what I mean? I mean, if it warmed up, Canada would be in great shape. I mean, we'd be a huge resort.
Could you imagine beachfront property in the Northwest Territories? We just need the entire ice shelf up there to belt, and we'd be doing just fine.
Well, you don't see Al Gore buying it up or Leonardo DiCaprio, so that tells you something right there. Mike, and Super Don with Kevin J. Johnston on Americanuck Radio. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll be back next week. Check out Kevin's YouTube channel.
Americanuck Radio.